backup projector. This is my slide. It's blank, just like the last one. Yeah. I have a nervous action that I do. I can't help it. All right. Well, my name is Rick Deacon. I'm doing a presentation on cross-site scripting on MySpace. Get started. I have notes, just so everyone knows that's what I'm doing down here. A little bit about me. I'm 20. I work as an IT specialist at a CPA firm in Beechwood. I'm not really sure what IT specialist means. They gave me that title. I don't like it very much, but I can't change it. Basically, I do network administrator type stuff, usually. I'm also a part-time student at Lorraine County Community College and University of Akron, studying for a bachelor's in networking through University of Akron. I have personal experience in IT for 7 years and security for about 4. I had an article published in 2600 magazine relating pretty much to the same thing that I'm doing a presentation on, although it's a little bit different. Other things I do, work on my car. I'm into music and whatnot. But this is an overview, basically what I'm going to be talking about. As if anyone didn't know, I'll be talking about what MySpace is, what cross-site scripting is, how to find cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, the ones that MySpace has, how to exploit them, protection from them, tools that I use, and the closing. And as you can read as my little disclaimer on the bottom, the presentation is not really, it's a how-to, but it's not going to tell someone without any knowledge how to do anything. So it's meant to keep script kiddies away. So if this were to ever go somewhere else, publish somewhere or whatever, for whatever reason, someone wouldn't just be able to pick this up and then do it if they don't have some technical knowledge. MySpace.com obviously is one of the largest social networking sites, if not the biggest. I'm sure many of you people know that. It's driven by various dynamic web applications, profiles, searches, there's chat rooms, there's classifieds, music pages, there's video. They just implemented a new news site that is like Dig. It's obviously has a huge impact on society today. It's in TV, it's in media, it's in radio. I mean, I was just talking to my girlfriend the other day, and we were talking about how everybody knows everybody because MySpace just opened up a whole new world of being able to talk to whoever you want to from wherever. It just ends up, you knowing everybody. And exactly what I have there. Who knows who goes where. You can find a lot of information from people on MySpace. I mean, even sometimes people make the mistake of posting information that they really shouldn't be giving out to, public internet, but your name and address, where you work, that's all listed sometimes on your front page depending on how discreet you are about it. Your hobbies, your cars as in what you drive, so people may actually know exactly what your car looks like if you have a picture with it. I mean, you can give out some pretty good information about yourself without you even knowing it. Given all the information that you could get from MySpace, it has very minimal security. I mean, it's vulnerable to all of these various attacks. Social engineering, obviously phishing. Tons of people get their profiles hacked, quote-unquote hacked, daily by clicking links and thinking they're logging into MySpace when they're actually just giving it to a phishing site. And then someone later is just logging in as them and whatnot, spreading the virus some more. Packet capture over a public network, MySpace viruses, spam, malware, spyware, all gets posted into the same thing that has to do with phishing. URL injections, cross-site request forgeries, and cross-site scripting. All of those vulnerabilities can be exploited on MySpace, and like I said, given the information, it can be pretty dangerous. Some of the famous ones, if you read any security sites or even Dig, I believe, posted most of these. The SAMI virus is very popular. He programmed the one script to actually propagate itself and then friend people over and over. And he had like 1 million friends in no time. And they didn't have to accept it either. He would just get all these friends. That was big, and that was on a lot of news sites over the time. It used cross-site scripting as well, but a lot more scripting that's involved, and a lot more involved than what I'm going to be talking about. QuickTime Virus wasn't too long ago. I believe it still sort of is in place, that you can still exploit it in some manners. What it did was basically you went to a person's page, you had this QuickTime movie that they got from visiting another person who had it, and it played, and then at the end of it, which actually there was no video at all, but at the end of it, it just executed JavaScript, and then it made itself propagate onto the next person who viewed his profile. It just kept going and going, and what it did at the same time, it also added a phishing bar at the top of your page, so you click login, it looks like a page that is the normal login, but it's actually the site that's phishing for passwords. And it also is vulnerable to the Windows Meta file, which was a while ago, but it was vulnerable to that at the same time. Cross-site scripting is basically, it's a vulnerability that can be found in very, very many web applications. It's very common in tons of places. Basically what it does is it allows code injection of various sorts, HTML, JavaScript, you can do PHP, anything you need to into it, and you can encode it into hex or Unicode or anything like that to actually put it in and execute it. It can be used for phishing or browser exploitation, as in you can actually sometimes execute arbitrary code that would crash a browser, and then you can't really do too much beyond that. I'm sure there are ways to do it, but and then obviously phishing, that's a big thing. That's whatever. I mean, it's so all over with the phishing sites all over MySpace. You go to tons of people's profiles and you see it all messed up. One of the bigger things it's used for is session hijacking and cookie stealing, which what you do is steal the cookie using cross-site scripted link that's encoded. We'll talk about that later because that's basically what the presentation is about. To find cross-site scripting vulnerabilities, it's very easy. All you need to do is insert a simple script into a URL. It really is simple, and I'll talk about that now. Here's how to do it, basically. How to embed, this one is embedding JavaScript into a hyperlink. As you can see, the hyperlink is it's using trustedsite.org search application. That's just obviously just the site I came up with. And you enter under the criteria, you would tell it to run script alert XSS, which would open, it would come up, an alert would pop up as soon as you click the link that said XSS. And that would mean that it's vulnerable because you just put basic JavaScript into the URL. And it's LOL interwebs is the actual name of the link that would come up, instead of actually seeing anything funny that would look weird. And like it says, you will see a warning box if it's successful. And then you know right away that it's susceptible to cross-site scripting, which I'm now going to refer to as XSS because it's quicker. Same link structure can be used to display cookie information, which means instead of putting that script or the alert, you could just tell it to alert document.cookie, and it would actually just pop up your cookie. You'd see it right there. You could redirect to a malicious script if you had it on your own web server. You could have it redirect to a JavaScript that you have just sitting anywhere, and it would run it because it doesn't know the difference at that point. And there's a lot of other ways, things you can do with it as well that I'll talk about. If you're not familiar with cross-site scripting, I'm not going to be talking a whole lot more about what it is or how to do it. Well, I will be talking about how to do it on MySpace, but other than that, if you don't have a lot of information on it, you can just go to the Wikipedia page that I have at the bottom of this slide here, or you can just search Google. There's a ton of pages with cross-site scripting just defined all over the place. Here, we'll talk about MySpace and cross-site scripting. MySpace uses cookies, and they're not tasty. They're just cookies that I'm sure you guys are all aware of. They're just stored in the computer. It contains session and login information, as well as sometimes your email address, and there has been speculation, although I'm not going to 100% say it, that there is passwords, encrypted password in there too, using some sort of hashing. Haven't really delved into that too much. Not really interested in that. And it also contains, oddly enough, past search criteria on MySpace. Never really figured that one out, but it is in there. The session information obviously can be used for session hijacking, which is what we're going to be discussing. And there are hundreds of undetected and undiscovered cross-site scripting vulnerabilities. All you have to do is just look around, go to various pages, try the link that I posted, the other one where you just tried to do the cross-site scripting with the JavaScript. You just put that into any link that you can find that looks like it uses a web application that has search criteria, an equal sign or a question mark equal sign. You can just put that in and see if it works. So all you got to do is create a link, send it to yourself, or send it to something else and see if it works. Simple as that. If it pops up, you got one. The exploit I'm going to be talking about is actually in the browse function of the site, which is actually MySpace's version of search. I found it using trial and error, just like I was describing, just plugging it into different URLs, and I found this one. It uses a cross-site scripting hole, obviously. Requires a web server with the capability of running a CGI file. So you need to have your own web server with, one that you've either rented out of your house or one that you're buying from a company, just renting for a while. Something that can run a CGI, basically. And before I get into the CGI and all the other coding and stuff, I'm not a programmer by any means. So I'm not 100% on all of programming or anything like that. So I don't want to come off as anything like that. I kind of despise programming. I don't really like it too much. It's too hard for me. Maybe I'm just dumb, but hey. Like I said, it lies in the browse, which is the user search feature. This exploit was used in this case to steal cookies and to hijack current user sessions in order to take full control of their accounts. Basically, you grab the information, take over their account, and you're them. I'm going to go into detail, but that's basically it. The exploit has been patched previous to the presentation. It was probably patched about a year ago, but this is showing you how to do it, and this exact way that we're going to do it can be used with any other cross-site scripting vulnerability that you find on MySpace. This is just one I'm using an example, so I have an actual URL to show you guys. And that also pertains to what I said in the beginning about it's not really leaning itself towards script kiddies. You can't really do anything with this particular one anymore. You got to find your own. This is the URL. I'll let you guys look at it for a second. Obviously, it's just the URL, so it looks kind of retarded just sitting up there. But you can pick some of it apart. Obviously, some of it's encoded. You can see the MySpace, search results.myspace, and then the index.cfm. And then it's a little encoded. It says document, location, see your web server, cookiestealer.cgi, document.cookie, and you're doing the end script tags. I'll talk about why it's encoded in a few minutes. The cross-site scripting actually started after the search request equals, just like I talked about. The JavaScript points to a CGI file that runs on a web server that I talked about as well. It records document.cookie. What it actually does, the CGI file takes document.cookie that you called with the JavaScript, it takes it and records it to your text file of choice that you told it to log to in the CGI file, which, like I talked a little bit about before, it could be easily replaced with a redirect to malicious code in a foreign domain by using almost the exact same structure, except you wouldn't put plus document.cookie. You would just put malicious.js for the JavaScript file or whatever else you were going to use. As you saw, part of it was encoded in hex. And this is what the link actually read. If you take out the hex, you can see it actually does an end quotation and then carets, right caret, and then the left caret to document.location. And then you can actually see the exact, what to type in order to have it log the document.cookie. And that's the exact link right there. And that would completely, back in a year ago, that would completely trick MySpace's system at the time to let you actually do that. And like I said, the method of evasion used here, which was just encoding in hex, actually has been patched. You can't do this anymore with just hex. There's plenty of other ways to do it, which I'm going to talk about, but the hex way is patched. Unless you find one that they missed, then you're not going to be able to use just the straight hex encoding. I think some Unicode still works, though. I'm not going to say that for sure, but I'm pretty sure some of it still works as far as that goes. And like I said, there's a lot more ways to evade the filter on MySpace, and there's also plenty of ways to do it on other sites too that use the same sort of filter evasion. Trial and error is good. I mean, a lot of you guys know about just using spaces and whatnot. There's ways to do it where you can actually put breaks, like 15 of them, and since JavaScript in certain cases doesn't take the breaks as actual part of the line of code, you can put JA have 15 breaks, and then